I just needed to turn on my mic. You see? I've been so worked up about beginning this live stream on YouTube and trying to do a, you know, well, I guess kind of like a multi live streaming or something like that. And there are a lot of moving pieces, and today I got it to work on YouTube, but I'm going to continue working on it and see what I can do and see if I can get it to work on X and other platforms as well as we go and moving on in the future. So, welcome to everyone. Um, I'm new here. You probably seen my stuff a little bit. But today we're going to be covering Greek mythology. I'm a Greek mythology buff, and growing up, my childhood, all Greek mythology. All of it, you name it. I was reading them all the time. To be honest, I grew up on Percy Jackson. I really did. I just couldn't get enough of those books, really. Heroes, villains, or gods, and epic stories and adventures, and going out of the norm, doing the unusual thing. And of course, we had to cover how that came about. How the Greek people or how the Greek storyline came about, and also how it has lasted for so long. It really has. And while I'm here, I'm just going to be moving and doing a couple things because A, I'm new here, and B, I figured, time to just set things up right, see how it's going, and get things set up. Maybe while I'm doing this, a couple people can jump in, put a comment section, question, whatever down below. And all my new people, welcome. All my people who are older here, or you are on the platform and you do already have me on, thank you for being here. And you know, we're going with the flow. We're going with the flow. But Greek mythology. I think today's question is going to be, who is your favorite Greek god? Because for me, it's a couple of them. It really is a couple of them. I, of course, I love Athena because, of course, I'm here. I'm all about knowledge and I enjoy reading books. So, YouTube, yeah. Awesome. Thank you for commenting because I wasn't sure if that was all working. So I appreciate that. Thank you for sending that to me. But yeah, who's your favorite Greek god? I know some of you are probably not thinking of the typical ones. Well, you are thinking of the typical ones, like the ones that you're used to, or the unusual ones, the ones that you've never heard of. You probably are like, who? Who is this? And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about all these interesting things, how they came about, where we at, where we're going, and we're just here to foster a community, talk about the interesting things or the topics that you are very passionate about, but your friends and family are simply like, "Whoa, I'm good. I don't want to pursue this conversation like you are." I'm not really into, I'm speaking relative terms here, that like I have a lot of things that I want to talk about and a lot of topics I'm passionate about, and my friends are simply not that way. They really are not that way. And I'm kind of trying to see what can we do? How can we grow a community where you know this kind of thing, doing a topic where we get to talk together and get into random conversations and really, foster a very good communication, and also like grow and talk about the weird subjects that we don't have people to talk to about them in regular life. And we are here from 7 to 9 p.m. on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I know I'm new to streaming here, so it's weird. If you've been on X, you know all of this already. So, my people who are on X and you've found your way here, thank you for being here. Awesome having you here. But you guys, I'm also thinking of different areas that I want to take the podcast to, the live stream, the podcast, because they get podcasts eventually get a personality of their own. They really do, and it can only be discovered, or we can only really figure out who we are by continuing and just going through and following the flow of everything and just seeing what happens. But I don't want this to be too stiff. I kind of want to have a bit of fun. I want to be jovial and, approach this as if I were communicating with a friend. Um, and we are just chatting and laughing and having fun and things like that. So I don't want it to be too sanitary, too borderline, like professional, or too I don't know, boring in a way. Kind of want to have a bit of fun, but also, keep it loose. Keep it loose. That is the goal. You guys, I had to trim my hair. I had to trim my hair yesterday because you know how split ends are. That's kind of what I've been up to. I've been trying to get all this working behind the scenes, of course, trying to multi stream, learning some new information. And yesterday, I had to just take a break. I had to take a break. I had been really running around doing a lot of work for a decent amount of time. And, you know, I needed to take a break. My body was like, or my brain really was like, we don't want to work. You've been working a lot. We need to calm down. And you need to take a breather because we do not want to continue doing whatever it is that you're doing here. So yesterday I had to take a break. I had to just chillax for a minute and, watch a couple movies. I watched Doctor Strange. I know. If you know me, you're like, yeah. Or if you've been here for a minute, you're like, yeah, Doctor Strange makes sense. Weird superhero or anti-hero. What do we think? Is he an anti-hero? I'm not sure. But watched some Doctor Strange and it was so interesting. The first one, there is a lot I forgot. There's a lot of information I forgot from that first one, or that I just didn't really remember. And re-watching it or going through it again, it was really, really fascinating. Honestly, really fascinating. Okay. Huh. That's weird. I'm trying to make sure my mics are working correctly and that I'm not, my audio's good and I'm not overdoing things. Let's see. Hmm. Okay, I think it's fine. But, okay. Eh. I needed to fix something. I had to fix something. Okay. We're gonna leave it as is. I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna overthink this too much because if I do and I'm thinking about how much, how I can improve everything and how I can make everything better, we will be here forever. We will be here forever. But that was a perfect 10 minutes because I always like to start off the 10 minutes just kind of chatting, telling you what I've been up to, and just getting everything started. So now that I've done that, we're going to get into the material, get in for what I've prepared for today, and go with the flow. See what's going on, and just talk about Greek mythology because I'm crazy about Greek mythology. And if you are crazy about Greek mythology, join us. Let's talk about it. Tell me who your favorite person is or your favorite god, and we'll get into it. But this is the reading mode. Let me see. I thought I had put something here, but maybe. Of course. Of course. See what I told you? I'm a perfectionist, and if I allow myself, I will overdo all of this. So we're going to keep this as is. I'm going to move something here. And we're going to begin the reading. But yeah, Greek mythology, where did it begin? How did it go on for so long? Or how was it so successful for so long? And how did these people bring all of this about? And why do they continue to play such a big role in our everyday life? Um, I categorize this as entertainment, but I think it's a bit of knowledge and entertainment, but I really wasn't sure exactly how to approach it. So, under entertainment, and I think some of this we will definitely find entertaining indeed. Without much further ado, let's get into Greek mythology. From the earliest times, humans have had a need to explain the origins and wonders of the world, the mountains and the oceans. Early invaders from Asia Minor brought with them an early form of Indo-European language and the worship of Aryan sky gods. Greeks were the first people to create gods and goddesses that look like real human beings, beautiful men and women, old people with humor and dignity, and splendidly natural animals, as well as a few monsters. All the art and all the thought of Greece centered on human beings and human feelings. Greek mythology tells of many heroes who defeated their enemies by superior wit. Odysseus, for example, was said to have thought of the wooden Trojan horse, inside which were hidden invading Greek soldiers. Greek intelligence went much further than clever strategy. The Greeks had a clear-eyed curiosity about themselves and all creation. Greek mythology is a subject of great interest. It is the source of many stories that has been interpreted and retold countless times. However, nothing beats the original stories as they were told by the original storytellers, the Greeks themselves. We will cover gods, demigods, mortals, and monsters. Yeah, we're gonna cover all of those. But I'm curious to know like how much or how long I should spend on Greek mythology. Of course, there's a lot to do. there's a lot to do in terms of like the Greek mythology. There's so many different areas that I could get into. But it's about like finding the right balance. And so I'm thinking I'm going to cover Greek mythology for this week and maybe the next week. Perhaps if I get feedback from some of you guys, I'll continue with it. But I'm thinking mostly we're going to cover everything this week, which is today and tomorrow, usually Wednesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. But yeah, Greek mythology. Old, very old, 2000 BC. That is that is that is very old. And a lot of these stories were passed down orator or through oratory, meaning just by the mouth, just from generation to generation without it being recorded, which is why there are a lot of variations for Greek mythology. There's a lot of different or a lot of nuances or slight differences for different gods and how they came about or the details of how they accomplished a certain feat. For example, Athena and Poseidon. I'm sure you know about the city of Athens and how Athena and Poseidon were in contest, competing to see which one of the two would be favored to be the patron of the city. And Poseidon, gave them water, but apparently the water was salty. So they chose Athena because she gave an olive branch or an olive tree. And the tree provided, of course, the fruit, olive, and then we have oil because you can get it from that. And then, of course, the wood itself, which you can use to burn and make fire, which has multiple uses. And although Poseidon gave them water, it was salty water. It really wasn't water that they could do much with. Especially humans, we need fresh water, right? So Athena won. But there are different variations of that story, of how it goes about. In some stories, it was just like, well, Poseidon got really mad and then he tried to curse the city of Athens and eternally like fought with Athena and they didn't get along. And in other stories, it's just like, well, Poseidon just let it be and just went away and did his thing and just graciously accepted that Athena had won. It's just minor variations, slight differences. Like, for example, the god Hera, Greek god Hera, is known as the goddess of marriage and, childbirth. But in other areas, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, is known as the goddess of childbirth, or Artemis. So it's like slight overlap, slight changes, and you can imagine that these stories being passed down from, you know, generations. The stories being passed down for generations and constant changing of everything. Like, you can understand that that would have a difference in how things are remembered, like slight changes. And also, things wouldn't, you know, always end up being the exact same. But it's pretty impressive that all these stories are relatively, the same storyline. It follows a cohesive theme, or it all pretty much sticks with the right, you know, method, or the right plot line, I suppose. See, some things I have to change today. I have to change some things. But yeah, Greek mythology. Greek mythology. I know some of us grew up on it. I certainly did. I certainly did. And if you're a Rick Riordan kind of person, I get you, I feel you. That's what I grew up on, and honestly, it's legit my life sometimes. I'm sure if I had the choice as a kid to study Greek mythology and like become, just be paid to read Greek mythology books, I would have done it. I really think I would have done it. I'm one of those kids. Forever a Greek mythologist. Let's see what more we can get into. According to Greek mythology, the genesis of the world began with nothingness, a complete void. This void was called chaos. Different stories say that chaos was actually a black bird that laid an egg, which later brought the first primordial being to the universe. Another story suggests that chaos was a god in the form of a man who grew sad because of his loneliness and he decided to create the world. Another story says that out of nowhere, existence simply appeared out of nothing. It is not only the creation story that is the subject of much debate, but also the succeeding stories that happened after. Throughout Greek mythology, varying accounts of the same story are present, while the core characters and plots remain intact, sometimes even contradicting stories of the same event. Exactly like I said, that yeah, you will see contradicting stories, and you have to remember that everything is being passed down, through stories, by repeating the stories over a campfire, for example, and it's just generation after generation remembering these stories. So it's very difficult for people to know that, hey, um, everything that's going on, or all the different changes that's happening, it's kind of hard to remember all the little details if you're only remembering it through your brain and you're not really writing anything down. But one of the things I find fascinating about, the Greek mythology and the origin of what it is, it's very similar. It's like every form of explanation, or every form of explanation that people have come up with to explain why we're here, the whole thing of it came from nothingness. We don't know how it came about. There's the Big Bang Theory where, yeah, eventually everything just became something. And then there's also different theories of like, well, for this one, it's like the raven or the god grew sad and he didn't want to be lonely anymore, so he created the world. And of course, if you go into Christianity, you have God created the earth in 7 days, if you believe, in God and things like that. So it's everybody is trying to explain our origin, trying to explain how humans got here because we don't know. We just do not know, and we're trying to make sense of it. And the Greeks, this is what they used to explain the world around them, what they used to make sense of the world. And the stories are so good, and the way that everything is portrayed, and how animals have, they're half human, half animal, and we also have, different monsters, and we also have like different gods for different reasons. It just it's so surprising to me how such a story survived for so long. Like, they're really good stories, but I'm just 2000 BC. That's crazy. It really is crazy. So it just goes to show the power of stories. It really does. That stories are what the human soul connects with. Like, you can beat it into someone's mind that like it's very important to be knowledgeable and it's very important to remember a lot of things, but telling a story really gets through to people. It really encapsulates and also gives people meaning, and it gives people something to share. And I think that's why the Greek mythology was able to be passed down for so long just by word of mouth and survive for this long. I think it's just crazy and it's amazing. But we're gonna get now into more of the God side of things, and the actual beings. But before we do, let's go just look at these pictures real quick because, wow, you guys. I had to put some of the famous ones up here, of course, of course. We have the satyrs up in here. Satyrs are insane, bro. Like, again, they're depicted in so many different ways, like, depending on the situation or what's happening. But satyrs are kind of bad. They're kind of like little bad. Again, we are still going to be PG over here because it is YouTube, and they like to demonetize a little bit. We're going to be understanding, but satyrs are a little bit bad. They're a little bit of deviants, if you get my drift. They like the ladies. They like the ladies. And the thing about Greek gods is simply that they are. I think what really resonates with people about Greek gods is just simply that they have human fallacies. They are just as morally corrupt as humans are. Like, they have faults. Yes, they have amazing powers, but that's pretty much the most amazing thing, or the only really great thing about Greek gods, because everything else about them, they are just, they'll be smiting people, they'll be like holding revenge. Like, even the best, like Athena, for example, the one revered for wisdom and strategy and having a cool head and thinking things through, this god turned Medusa into, like, well, turned Medusa into Medusa, as you know her, with the snakes for head, a gorgon. Before that, Athena was known as a beautiful woman, and Poseidon fell in love with her, and Poseidon took Medusa to Athena's temple, and Athena, of course, got mad. It's like, this is disrespectful, and turned Medusa into a gorgon, which is a lady with snakes for a head. And of course, she's able to then, when she looks at people with her piercing gaze, she turns people into stone. But it's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy how these gods are just so smiteful. Like, they're just so full of like all the feelings that humans are. They're not above it. Chiron, or centaurs, the half horse, half man. Those ones are like they're really intriguing. I think we really like centaurs because they just seem. We already like horses. It's just a thing for humans. We really enjoy horses, or ladies in general. I know that a lot of girls are like, I love horses. I think everybody likes horses. They're cool. You can ride them. They're majestic. They're pretty nice. They really are nice. Of all the animals, like they're pretty nice. Of course, a tame horse, a civilized horse. Um, and I think everybody wanted a pony when they were younger, right? Like, I want a pony. And centaurs are pretty cool. But centaurs are known for having a pretty bad temper, or they're also known for being like mighty. Think of what's it called? Well, in Harry Potter, when when Mrs. Umbridge tries to go and like talk to the centaurs and tell them what to do, and the centaurs are like, we don't recognize your authority over here, and you don't get to tell us what to do. And they took her away and basically tied her up. And when I tell you this lady was driven crazy, we don't know what those centaurs did to her or gave to her, but centaurs are not the nicest. Chiron is the nicest one. He's known as like the most enlightened centaur, but other than that, centaurs are pretty vicious. They're really vicious. They're like, we don't care. Like, you humans can't keep up. You're too weak. Like, we don't care to save you. Like, deal with your problems on your own. Like, they're very proud too. And they're always like fond of telling humans how stupid they are. Oh, centaurs. They're crazy. And of course, we have to go in with the Pegasus. Pegasus. Oh, what is it us with well, the question would be, why are the Greeks so into horses? Why? Because we have sea nymphs, we have sea horses. Um, well, Poseidon is also known as a Greek god of. He's also known as the god of horses as well. But it's interesting how the Greek have so many different variations of the horse, because there's the ones in the water with everything and all the glory with Poseidon and everything like that. And then we have the centaurs, and then we have the Pegasus, the ones with the wings. So it's just so fascinating. And the reason why the Greeks would be so into horses would be because at that time horses would be coming into use during this time frame, and they would be very valuable. You can get a lot of places with horses. They're fast, they're kind of scarce at this point, so them coming into being is very important and will be very impactful in Greek life. And that's what I'm imagining why there are so many variations of just the horse, because there aren't as many animals who have that many variations other than the horse. But yes, that's what I have filled in my mind: Greek mythology and all these interesting different topics. The Hydra, we all know the Hydra, the eight-headed monster that each time you cut a head, another one grows back. So two more grows. Two, like, so if it was one head you cut, next time it goes back, it'll be two. And hydras are just scary, bro. They breathe fire. They're nearly indestructible, and if you try to kill them or chop off their heads, more of them grow back. That's insane. That's just, I don't want to deal with a hydra. I'm scared already. Hydras are already scary to me. We're gonna leave Zeus up because, of course, we have to start with Zeus. We kind of have to. We don't really have a choice over here. We're gonna start with Zeus, see what happens, and then we're gonna move on and talk about each god respectively. And of course, tomorrow we have more to dive into in different areas as well. We will begin by talking about the parents of the Olympian gods. The Olympian gods are the ones we are most familiar with and really the ones who are most enthralled by. Beyond that, there are Titans, which come from Uranus and Gaia. Uranus and Gaia bore children, Cronus and Rhea, were the parents of all the Olympians. Olympian gods are the most well known, the ones we are most enthralled by. They are not as strong as their parents, but are most remembered throughout history. After a long but magnificent war, the Olympians led by Zeus dethroned their father and imprisoned him in Tartarus, and so the reign of the Olympians began. Gaia, Uranus, Cronus, Prometheus, and Atlas are some of the first ones that have inhabited the universe of Greek mythology. Despite their divine control over the earth, sky, and waters, one may notice they can be as petty and fickle-minded as the humans they have created. In Greek mythology, the gods and goddesses are neither perfect nor morally good. Except for the powers they wield and the immortality they possess, they are not that different from the humans below them. Yeah, they're not that different from the humans below them. And I think that's why we are so enthralled by them. Why we are so drawn to them is because they have all these powers with the human aspect of it. So we imagine that although we humans do not have such powers, we could emulate some of these gods, more positive attributes. For example, Hephaestus or Prometheus, the things that they embody and the goodness that they do are things that regular humans could emulate. And we will see as we go on how that would be impactful to, the human world and how everyday people would be able to connect and resonate with these stories. In the heart of ancient Greece, there was a majestic mountain called Olympus, where the pantheon gods and goddesses resided. They represented the center of ancient Greek religious world. From this mighty peak that soared above the clouds, the gods and goddesses ruled and influenced the affairs of the mortal world, dispensing justice and mercy, bestowing blessings and curses, shaping the dealings of all men and women of ancient Greece. At the head of Pantheon was Zeus, the king of the gods, who ruled all over by exercising the power of lightning, ruling both heaven and earth. Beside him were his queen Hera, the goddess of marriage and childbirth, and his older brothers Poseidon and the god of the seas, and Hades, the ruler of the underworld. Other members of the pantheon include the children of Zeus, among whom we find Athena, goddess of wisdom and warfare, Apollo, god of the sun, music and prophecy, Hermes, messenger of the gods and patron of commerce and thieves, Artemis, goddess of hunting and the moon, and Ares, god of war. There was also Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, and Hestia, the goddess of the hearth and home. The ancient Greeks revered each of these gods and goddesses, and their stories and legends were woven into the fabric of their daily lives. Indeed, they were invoked in times of need, honored in rituals and festivals, and depicted in art and literature. Through their tales of love and war, of triumph and tragedy, the gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus offered the ancient Greeks a glimpse into the mysteries of the divine and a window into the human soul. Through this journey, we will gain a deeper understanding of the complex and rich mythology that has fascinated people for millennia. We will learn about the pantheon and understand the relationships between the various deities and their interactions with the mortal world. We will discover the timeless stories of Greek heroes and monsters, from the epic adventures of Odysseus to fearsome beasts like the Minotaur of the Labyrinth. We will enter this mystical realm and explore its divine domains and powers. The beginnings of Greek mythology's myths, as we can see when we investigate them, are a complex tapestry of tales that give insight into the beginnings of the gods and the cosmos. One of the most intriguing topics in creation myths is how various deities arose from the chaos of the universe's origin. Out of the whirling mist of the abyss, the earliest gods and goddesses, including the Titans, gave birth to the gods of Mount Olympus. And one of the most known is the myth of Gaia and Uranus, who respectively symbolize earth and heaven. These two gods are responsible for the creation of all subsequent gods and goddesses who would come to control the heavens and earth. These stories portray the eternal conflict between good and evil, and the repetitive cycles of life and death. Again, growing up as a kid, being really into the stories, I never thought of it as that, as it representing good and evil, and it really going into these different areas and having such a big impact. Because to me, it was just cool stories to learn about and to see some of my favorite, you know, like some of my favorite gods, or just to see their powers displayed. But I think stories like these are really what shapes the childhood, or what shapes humans. Because although we're not thinking about the lessons that are being learned, what is seeping through our mind through those stories are like sacrifice, and how humans are, and what people are capable of, and what the world is capable of. But it's told in a story that is captivating, and often there is loss, but often the heroes prevail. And it's just about describing life in a way that, like, sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, but to fight and to go on doing something good at the end of the day is what it is all about. I think the best thing, what is the best thing about Greek mythology, is that it doesn't sugarcoat life. It kind of tells kids that, hey, life is not going to be easy, but you can fight like a hero, you can die like a hero, and your sacrifice will be worthwhile. And again, as a kid reading all these stories, I don't really understand in the present day what kind of impact it would have had on me and how I conduct my life, but I can see how it could shape a generation. It would be able to shape a country. Maybe that's what we're different from these days. That the stories that were told by parents, and the way that culture was passed on, is kind of now lost a little bit. I was just watching trailer, you guys. Moment of truth here. I was just watching the trailers of movies that are going to be coming out in like 2026, and seeing everything that they have planned, and I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, wow, what is this? What is this? It is as if our imagination is gone. I think we don't have to deal with boredom anymore. So like sitting with ourselves and being bored and coming up with an intriguing story is not something that happens anymore. And I can understand that. And I don't know, how younger, maybe Gen Alpha, for example, I don't know if they're going to be moviegoers like we were. I think the movie world is going to die because you're competing with TikTok. Good luck. I mean, I think maybe the movie will be in the background while TikTok is in the foreground, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that the way that these movies are going, do you think that people will be able to like prevail, and I don't know, you think these stories are good enough that the next generation will actually watch these movies? Because I think the good writers are gone. I really do. I think the good writers are gone, and I think boredom provided us imagination, which allowed us to create epic stories and come like the gods, the Greek gods, and what the Greek civilization came up with. I think much of this they came up with because, they were bored. They had to come up with these stories, and they had to like embellish things just to provide entertainment. And being bored is a very good thing because they had time for these thoughts to come about. But also, They were walking a lot. They had to do everything by hand, fetch water and make food and go out and feed the animals. So in their minds, as people say, when I'm going for a walk, these ideas just pop in my mind. That's when I get all the best ideas. It's like when I'm not thinking about it. And we do not need to move as much anymore. So I wonder if our imagination is being impacted by all of this. And this is what this podcast is about. Like, we talk about these interesting things. Like, how is our world changing today? And looking back at what our ancestors did, or looking back at the stories that were built up, you know, what did we come from, and where are we going? These are just interesting topics. For me, I'm always curious, and my goal is kind of to build a community where we can talk about these different subjects and we can get our own ideas thrown into there. So, if you're a curious mind and you're into this kind of stuff and you want to talk about these different ideas, that's what we are here for. I'm going to continue reading, and then yeah, I'll continue talking and throwing ideas out at you. But if you feel comfortable, throw out a message. Let me know what you think also, and we'll bounce back and forth and have different ideas on that as well. But we're gonna continue reading. I'm gonna drink some water in the meantime. But these pictures of Zeus, though, it's pretty cool. That, like, we started with the sculptures, and then we have the paintings, and then eventually, like, we even have the movies about these guys. It's just so amazing how these stories have lasted for so long, and how they've lived on for such a long time. Important aspects of creation myths include the structure and hierarchy of deities, as well as the interactions between them in the mortal world. These stories have enlightened us about the divine realms and the lasting impact they have had on human culture and religion. The continuous conflict between order and chaos is one such motif. The Titans symbolize the powers of chaos and disorder, whereas the gods of Mount Olympus represent the forces of order and civilization. The fight for dominance and power is a recurring motif in Greek mythology, which portrays a conflict between good and evil, as well as a constant desire for harmony and balance in the universe. These myths give insight into ancient Greek beliefs and traditions. They provide us a fascinating peek into the beliefs and practices of a people long gone, but whose legacy continues to impact our world and perception. Each god and goddess was honored and loved for what he or she represented. Zeus, the most powerful deity, controlled the weather and the passage of time, with a flick of his wrist producing thunder and lightning. His wife and sister Hera was a goddess of marriage and focused on concerns of women and children. Poseidon, Zeus's brother, was a god of the sea and of earthquakes. He used his trident to cause raging seas and devastating tsunamis. The agricultural goddess was responsible for the fertile soil and abundant harvest. Athena was a revered as a strategist and a skilled craftswoman, in addition to being the goddess of war and intellect. Hades, as the god of the underworld, was in charge of the dead and the earth's wealth. Persephone, his wife, was a goddess of spring, and her annual ascent to earth marked the end of winter and the start of a new life cycle. Apollo was worshipped because of his brilliance and musical abilities as a god of light, music, and prophecy. Artemis, his twin sister, was a goddess of the hunt and moon. She traveled the world armed with a bow and arrow. Hephaestus was revered for his forged creations. He was the god of blacksmiths and fire, inspiring dread and awe in equal measure. Aphrodite was a god of desire and the bearer of love. She was the object of desire for many. Dionysus was a god of wine, fertility, and pleasure. He was known for his wild personality and unpredictability. These gods were central to ancient Greek religion, and their tales continue to captivate and motivate followers today. Zeus was a son of the Titans Rhea and Cronus, and was born on the magical island of Crete. Cronus ate his own offspring, with the exception of Zeus, who was hidden by his mother Rhea. Once he grew up and came of age, Zeus launched a revolt against Cronus and the Titans, eventually succeeding and overthrowing them. He became the ruler of the gods atop Mount Olympus. Zeus became recognized as a wise and just monarch. He instituted divine order, ensuring that everyone followed the rules and could coexist peacefully. However, Zeus's attribute as a monarch did not end there. His strength, intelligence, and power became legend. As a master of disguise, he often assumed different guises to achieve his goals. Yeah, Zeus is a little crazy, you guys. Zeus is just like, he's doing all kinds of things. He's doing all kinds of things, and I'm just, again, you don't agree with everything that these gods are about. It's as if it's a human thing in them that they're not perfect and they have fallacies, they fail, and they are spiteful, and they have negative aspects of them. Like, there are so many things that these gods just are horrible at. They really are. And to me, I don't, you know, I don't, I don't, I don't fully understand it. Like, why it is the way that it is with these gods and how they are with each other. But it makes sense if you're trying to explain the world and if you're trying to come up with a reasoning as to why we're all here and you're trying to tell epic stories. You can't really tell epic stories with everything always being hunky dory and, the superhero always wins and, everything always goes back to normal. It's kind of like boring, really, right? Which is why I think Greek mythology has lasted for so long. Because Poseidon, we have Poseidon up here right now. For him, like, what? He's can do everything. He can do anything really, and he's so powerful. But his temper, he can't control his temper. He has a horrible temper, and he lost to technically his niece in a race to be the patron for a city that really could have been his, like easily could have been his. Like, all the man had to do was give the people fresh water, and that was something that he really didn't think about. Like, all he had to do was really just like divert a river and just magically have it like flow, or have a fountain, or like have an aqueduct underneath, like water. Like, I think you're the god of water. It would have been a pretty easy race for you to win. But because he didn't really put much thought into it, and because he didn't really think about what the people would need and how the people would react, and all the ways that water is needed, and that it is important to know exactly what type of water that is being brought in. Again, maybe he's a god and he didn't think, hey, these humans need fresh water. For me, it doesn't really matter because I'm a god, but these humans need fresh water to live on. So maybe he wasn't even thinking about it, which is why Athena would end up winning, because she's a strategist. She's the god of wisdom and warfare. So she knows how to think things through and think about what her opponent would have done and really be able to win. And the reason why this is so good, such a good story, and why it's fascinating, is probably because you think about it in an everyday life. If you apply this to your everyday life, that there are people who are born with more talents than you are. They're born lucky, or they're born with a rich parent, and they have a leg up, or they went to a better school, or they're smarter, they're more athletic than you, whatever you can think of. I think this is a good story, and we can learn from it is that you may start with more powers and more abilities, but without the thought, without the strategy, without applying yourself, you can lose to someone who is less powerful, physically or mentally, if that makes sense. And I think the story with Athena, it encapsulates it so well, is simply that, hey, if you think things through and you think what your opponent could potentially do, you can outwit them. You can beat them. And that's really the motif of Greek mythology as well, is that it's always using your mind, using your wit. It's about progress and improvement and really, yes, might meaning strength is a decent amount of it, but it's really also a decent amount of it is like using your head and seeing how you can work around things and work in different ways to win the day. And I'm just, I find this to be fascinating, absolutely fascinating, that Athena would win. And I would have never thought that Athena would win. Like, one would never think that Athena would win in this instance. I would say the god of water, clearly. The people need water. Like, you go 3 days without water and you're dead. But a well thought out plan or a gift that is well thought out. Instead of being able to only provide one thing, Athena provides 3 things in one. And also, then the olive branch is now known as an extension of, it's a peace offering. It's what it really became known as, which is also fascinating that's what it became known as, or that is what it represents today. Let's see. But I do like Poseidon too, you guys. I'm really like shook it. Like, I don't know if I have one favorite god. I think you know what, okay, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself. Maybe I'll save it till the end and we'll talk about who our favorite gods are, or number one favorite god and why, because there are so many positives to all of these gods. And there are also some negatives to all of these gods, which is what I could see how that's very cool for real life. You can apply it to your real life. Because no matter who or what you end up with, you'll always have a positive and you'll always have a negative thing that you have to contend with. It's just making me think. The nerd in me. And all the different things that I'm exploring. It's just what it makes me think of. We're going to continue reading because we have a decent amount of material. And we're going to move on to the next person here. But the horse here is my favorite. I want this horsey. Oh. Wait, you guys, is it a Pegasus? I think it's a Pegasus. Oh. I want a Pegasus, okay? I want a Pegasus! Who doesn't want a Pegasus? Honestly, if you don't want a Pegasus, are you even human? Are you even human? If you're afraid of horses, I am sorry. That's rough life, okay? Of all the animals to be afraid of, if you're afraid of horses, I genuinely feel bad for you. Because they're so cool. I could see like an accident happening like when you're a kid. So maybe, you know, that would be a thing. But like other than that, horses are so cool, you guys. I love horses. I must be because I'm just pining for a Pegasus right now. I really am. But I think that's the other reason why we love Greek mythology so much. Is because they're such cool creatures. That we all are like, I want a horse that can fly. Who thought of that? Like the imagination and the boredom of these people that they had to come up with these ideas. It's just so interesting to me. All of it so interesting. But yeah, we're going through Greek mythology this time around. And I know this is my first time on YouTube doing this. So a lot of things to think through. And a lot of differences than what we typically do. Well, I mean, this is what we would typically do on X, but it just feels different because it's the first time we are on YouTube live streaming. So I'm a little scared, okay? I'm a little scared. I'm not, but I am. I don't know. I can't explain it to you. I really can't. Let's see. Da, da, da. Okay. The ancient Greeks revered each of these gods and goddesses, and their stories and legends were woven into the fabric of their daily lives. Indeed, they were invoked in times of need, honored in rituals and festivals, and depicted in art and literature. Throughout their tales of love and war, of triumph and tragedy, the gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus offered the ancient Greeks a glimpse into the mysteries of the divine and a window into the human soul. Through this journey, we will gain a deeper understanding of the complex and rich mythology that has fascinated people for millennia. We will learn about the pantheon, and understand the relationships between the various deities and their interactions with the mortal world. Hades, as the god of the underworld, was in charge of the dead and the earth's wealth. Persephone, his wife, was a goddess of spring, and her annual ascent to earth marked the winter and the start of new life. Okay, we're gonna start with Athena again. You guys, I'm sorry. There are. I wish I could show you what I'm looking at, but I'll have it set up for you tomorrow, and we'll be able to see what I'm looking at for tomorrow. But we went over Zeus, we went over Hades, but there are different things that are interlapping because each god has their own thing, but then on top of that, there are different aspects, different things to cover and overlapping. You know how we talked earlier about how the stories all are interconnected. But let's go on for a let's go on with Athena and Apollo and different things like that. And then we'll circle around and talk about everything else towards the end. But Athena, Apollo, and Artemis were just some of his numerous descendants. So Zeus has a lot of children. Zeus is a bit of a hoe. To put it nicely, all the gods are a bit of a hoe. All the gods are wild beings who really faithfulness, they're not known for that. Maybe that's giving us a glimpse again into Greek culture, like of back in the day. Because if all these gods, none of them were faithful. Like when I tell you all of these gods were like inter interwoven, interweaving into each other is the way that I would put it. You you know, Zeus was the worst of them all. Okay, Zeus was just like the worst of them. And again, I think this makes me think of like everyday life too. That like maybe like all these bad aspects that we have for the gods are also something like for humans as well. That like nobody is perfect. That the just the sleeping around with everybody and Hera being eternally jealous and making women's lives hell. It's just I think it just reflects what humans do, right? We stay in a marriage and we say that we're faithful to one person, like Zeus. Zeus wants Hera, his sister wife, and doesn't want any other man to have her. But at the same time, Zeus legit cannot keep his pants on. Cannot keep his pants on ever. Like this man will never be able to keep his pants on. But if anyone even looks at his wife, he gets jealous and mad and spiteful and wants to just, throw them into the depths of Tartarus. But it kind of is a reflection of everyday life. It's a reflection of us. That the most powerful man, the richest guy, the guy with the most power, he wants to have his wife and his children, but at times he also wants to have fun and be with the women that he wants to be with. Think of one of them, and I'm sure it came to mind, okay? Think of a guy who is, not all of them, of course. Zeus is just personification, I think, of that type of personality, if that makes sense. That the gods are better than us. They have all these cool powers, but also the gods still fail. And the gods still have things that they're terrible at and that they suck at. And I think for this one with Zeus, how you could correlate it to real life is kind of something like that. That you have the most powerful guys, the guys who are very rich, or you think of Hollywood, those guys who have everything, and you know the stories that I've heard about how they have agreements with their wives that, oh, we'll do the family life and everybody will think that I'm a good guy, or my image is that I'm a good guy and I have a family and I have one wife, but behind closed doors they both have agreements that, hey, you know, you can sleep with whomever you want and I can sleep with whomever I want, so long as no one has children outside of the marriage, and don't get in any trouble. Do your due diligence and don't let anything get out in the public. I know you can think of a few people right off the top of your head. We're not going to go into it because we try not to focus too much on the negativity of it, but it's just a connection of real life. And even though as a kid I would have never come to this understanding, but now as an adult, looking at these stories, it kind of teaches children a little bit of what the world will be like before they step into it. The naivety is kind of reduced. And perhaps Greek children had to grow up faster because life was harsher. So these stories kind of told them, hey, life isn't always going to be rainbows and gumdrops and lollipops. Whereas today, I think children do grow up and think that's what life is. So maybe Greek stories are fascinating and they are needed to kind of teach children a lesson that would otherwise be difficult for parents to talk about in a regular setting, if you get my understanding. And all of this is coming to me now, you guys. All these revelations, they are coming to me now. I'm just kind of riffing and going along with the flow with you. Athena, Apollo, and Artemis were just some of his numerous descendants. Zeus was married to Hera, but had a long history of extramarital affairs with both human and immortal women, from which he fathered other illegitimate children. The power of Zeus is extolled in the legend of Prometheus, which is often used as an example of the deceit and power of Zeus. Prometheus was a titan who fought with Zeus and the Olympians against Cronus and the other titans. Prometheus was rewarded by Zeus with the gift of fire, which he then delivered to the humans, much to the gods' chagrin. Zeus took his revenge on Prometheus by having him chained to a rock, where an eagle came every day to brandish his flesh with its sharp beak and eat his liver. You see what I mean? Just harsh. The man is just, he's a good ruler, he's pretty fair, but when people disobey him, he turns into a monster. Which is, again, you can put that into like real life, that like me, for example, I try to be a good person. I treat everyone with kindness and respect. And when people do not return it, I don't stay there for further mistreatment. It's just maybe who I am, it's just my personality, but you know, I am kind to people, but I will not stand there and continue being kind to people and giving so much of myself if it is not reciprocated. And I guess for Zeus, it's kind of like, I'm kind to you and I'll give you the gift and I'll reward you for fighting with us. But if you're going to give the humans fire, which I kind of forbid you to do, then I'm going to make you suffer for eternally. That's a little harsh punishment, but it's just how people are capable of mercy and wrath. People are nuanced. People are complex. And I think, again, this is a genius of Greek mythology, that it kind of teaches you in the stories that there are multiple sides to a person. You can't just put people in one little box and expect them to always be a saint and always be like of good humor and pleasant all the time. Yeah, there's a pleasant side to them, but there are the dark side to them too, and you have to accept that and take it with the good with the bad in a way. The Olympian god Poseidon reigned over the ancient Greek pantheon as a god of the sea. He was the oldest of Cronus and Rhea's children and the older brother of Zeus. He presided over the seas and earthquakes and was only surpassed in authority by Zeus. Poseidon is known to be a fickle god, given to rage but yet capable of tremendous mercy. Before setting sail, sailors would make sacrifices to Poseidon in honor of the god's control over the sea and wind. Poseidon's legendary conflict with Athena for the city of Athens is a staple of Greek mythology. Both gods were invited to provide a present for the inhabitants of Athens, with the winner being named as patron of the city. Poseidon struck his trident into a rock, and water immediately gushed forth, but it was seawater, salty and therefore of little use. Athena planted an olive tree, which gave fruit, oil, and wood. The court decreed that Athena's gift was the more beneficial, and thus she became the patron of Athens. The olive branch became a symbol of peace. Poseidon's love life, which included a marriage to the sea nymph Amphitrite and extramarital romances with both nymphs and humans, was legendary. The famed winged horse Pegasus was his offspring with the Gorgon Medusa. See? Pegasus. I was really curious. I wanted to know who fathered the Pegasus. So it was it was Poseidon and Medusa. Again, one would never think that Medusa would be able to produce such a beautiful offspring, but she was beautiful before Athena cursed her. Poseidon was not just the god of the sea, but also the god of horses. He has a chariot that is typically pulled by seahorses. He was both admired for his authority and feared for his volatile temperament, making him a fascinating and mysterious character. The narrative of Poseidon, the god of the sea, is a crucial one for those interested in delving into Greek mythology. It is a fascinating world to explore, with its numerous mysteries surrounding the ancient gods. Poseidon was notorious for his wrath and enormous might, since he was believed to have the power to trigger earthquakes and tsunamis. The other gods feared him. He was dreaded by many, yet even he wasn't immune to the allure of romantic love. Poseidon's attention was once drawn to the lovely nymph Medusa. He wooed her and took her to Athena's shrine. Athena was infuriated by Poseidon's profanity, so she punished Medusa by making her face so hideous that anybody who looked into her eyes would be turned to stone. However, Medusa's beauty was thought to be so great that it lasted even in her monstrous form, making her alluring to the gods despite her change. Legends about Hades. The enigmatic underworld king have intrigued humans for centuries. Hades, the god of the dead, was an intimidating god with incredible abilities. Despite his reputation as a harsh and unforgiving god, Hades was really an intricate member of the ancient Greek pantheon. Hades, along with Zeus and Poseidon, was conceived by Cronus and Rhea. Hades made the underworld his own. When Zeus led an uprising that toppled Cronus and the other titans, he became Lord of the Dead, earning him enormous power and respect among the gods. Hades was not a wicked god, contrary to popular beliefs. In reality, he had a reputation for being judgments of the souls who died. Those who had lived good lives were rewarded with a spot in the paradisical meadows of Elysium, while the wicked were sent to the depths of Tartarus. The other gods regarded Hades with distrust because of his tremendous power. They feared his influence and worried he would attempt to topple them. This resulted in him being excluded from several of their gathering and board sessions. Despite this, Hades never wavered in his role as king of the underworld, earning him utmost respect of his subjects. You, of course, have heard of the story of Hades and Persephone. That's a fascinating one. And I'm sure, none of you really know all the background of that story, which is also interesting. But Hades grows on you too. Like, Hades is a god that, like, oh, okay, the big three, right? There's Poseidon, Hades, and Zeus. Which one would you choose to spend eternity with? Okay, okay, okay. Wait. Let's just take gender out of it for a moment. Okay, let's just say. Okay, let's just take like romantic love out of it. Let's just say you had to be stuck with one of them. Which one would you choose? Which one do you think would be most fun? I feel like Hades would be most fun. Really, I really do. Like, I think that he's portrayed as being scary, but just like they say, like, Hades really gets a bad rap, and you have to think, like, he's god of the underworld, and people are kind of like afraid of death. Hades doesn't have as many cool stories, and even the story that he has with Persephone is of him abducting her. Not as if like Persephone could have loved him and gone down with her and with him to the and lived forever in the underworld, but it's just it makes sense why he doesn't have as many stories, and there are different variations. Of course, as time goes on, people make their own thoughts on they make their own stories about this, and they go into different realms, and some of them are like, yeah, actually no, Persephone loved Hades and she enjoyed being down there with him. But of course, in the beginning, when they're describing it, Hades kind of abducts her and takes her to the underworld, and kind of like, in a way, forces her to be there against her will. And it's just, in a way, describing a misunderstood guy. Outwardly, he appears to be so dark, so vicious, so, you know, scary. But inwardly, he's a lonely man, a lonely god who has no one and is kind of stuck ruling a realm because he drew the short straw, to be honest. Because in the beginning, I cut my hair, you guys, and it's changing, so I'm playing with it. I'm playing with it because I don't know. I don't know if I like the shape or not. But anyways, no, but he I think he's just misunderstood. I really do. Am I crazy here? Like, am I crazy for feeling like bad for him? That, like, he doesn't get his just dues. And even so, like, to go and get pictures for Hades, I had to look way harder than I had to look for Poseidon and Zeus, of course. Like, but yeah, people do fear the dead. But I think Hades is a god of mercy. He's a fair, just god, as we just talked about. But if I had to spend time with the big three between Hades, Poseidon, or Zeus. Okay, Zeus is out of the running. Zeus is too much of a showboat for me. Like, I don't know if I can do Zeus. Like, he's too much. He really is too much. Anybody else feel that way? Like, Zeus is just like so big that, like, it's not even worth trying to, like, be friends with him or trying to live with him eternally. Like, could you imagine? Like, but I'm a low-key kind of girl. Like, my idea of a good time is curled up on the couch, reading a book. Ooh, I think I just picked who my god is gonna be. I think I would go with Hades. I really would, you guys. Because, I mean, okay, if we did look at it from a romantic standpoint, I would make a great ruler of the underworld. Okay, I would make a great queen of the underworld. I'm a fair person. I'm pretty just. But at the same time, when justice needs to be doled out, I would revel in that a little bit. just a tad. But justly. Like, punish the criminals? Yeah. All the bad people out there, if I was queen of the underworld and that was part of my job, all the bad people that I would get to punish, I would have a lot of fun with that. I mean, which one of you wouldn't? But like, the people are truly evil, though. Like, they did bad things. Think of the worst thing that you can think of. These guys get sent to Tartarus. Yeah. Yeah, I think, but you know what, though? I would say I would miss the sun, but it's pretty hot. it's pretty hot down there. It's pretty hot. But the other thing is that like he is a god, so like anything I wanted, he would be able to make happen. So if I really wanted like a room that was specifically made to have the sun in it where I could just get my daily dose of sunshine, that's a possibility. Or like a tunnel could be created where like the sun would be able to shine through, but like connected in such a way that like it's protected, but like it's a hidden passage. I don't know, you guys. I'm thinking this is my brain. This is my brain. Like I could see myself happy in the underworld. I think I'll replace Persephone. If she doesn't want to be down there, I'll replace her. It's cool. It's cool. I think it's a great job for me. I'd be like, hey honey, who do we have on the agenda today? Who are we torturing? That would be me. That legit would be me. Poseidon would be cool, but the water and all that, it's cold. It's cold sometimes. And also, always being, well, again, he's a god, so I wouldn't always be wet. I'd have all the powers to nah, but torturing people sounds fun. It really does. Really does. But I want a Pegasus. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. This is a hard choice. This is a hard choice. But I could see why each have their positives and why each would be beneficial. So I'm going to leave it there before I talk your ears off about who my favorite god is. Or who of the big three I would pick if I had to pick. But yeah, I feel bad for Hades. I think he's misunderstood, you know? I think he's a misunderstood dude. And we could all be kinder to him. Especially since we know we're going to end up in the underworld with him. And I'm kidding. Some of you are going to. Maybe I will too. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll end up in the underworld with Hades. Who knows? I don't know. But maybe some of you want to go to the underworld with Hades. But yeah, he abducted Demeter. I'm sorry. Hades kind of abducted Persephone and took her to the underworld. And if you eat anything of a god within a god's domain, you kind of have to. I think it's the land of the dead, especially. This is a motif that's like played out in different stories too about the land of the dead and how like if you eat anything in the land of the dead, you're kind of stuck there forever. So do not eat in the land of the dead when you are down there. It's not a good idea. Not a good idea. So he kind of tricked Persephone into eating the pomegranate seeds, and then that's why she would have to be down into the underworld for at least 4 months, because apparently she ate 4 seeds, which only 4 seeds of pomegranate? Come on. The Greek, come on. Really? Really 4 seeds? Or was it 4 pomegranates? But 4 seeds of pomegranate, like, you might as well not eaten anything at all. Like, that's not even gonna satiate anything. Like, anything at all. Like, what? No. But then again, this is Greek mythology, so remember the mythical aspect of this, okay? I'm getting so worked up and I'm getting like interested in all of this, but remember that it is a mythology. So, when Hades abducted Persephone, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, kind of lost her mind, you know? So, we're going to get into that story. Demeter was shocked when Hades asked for her daughter's hand in marriage. She couldn't accept that her daughter would be doomed to a life of obscurity with Hades forever. Demeter turned down Hades' offer and urged her daughter not to become involved with the evil god. However, the impending peril was lost on Persephone. She was carefree and naive, picking flowers in a field when something unexpected happened. She was sent to the underworld after walking into a crack. Demeter was devastated and furious after learning what had happened to her daughter. A devastating famine swept the region when she refused to allow the soil to grow crops. Zeus traveled to the underworld, met Hades, and ordered the restoration of Persephone to her mother. Hades finally gave up, but not before tricking her into eating pomegranate seeds. It was this deed that chained her to the underworld, relegating her to the land of the dead for a period of time each year. The news of this tragedy grieved Demeter, but she knew she could do nothing to change it. Persephone was condemned to spend the winter months as queen of the dead, a position she held every year when compelled to return to the underworld. As Demeter wept over the loss of her daughter each winter, she became the mythical progenitor of the winter season. Due to its universal theme of love, sacrifice, and the cycles of life and death, the story of Hades and Persephone has endured for millennia. It's a story that's been told for generations, enriching people's lives and giving insight into the mythological gods' continuing appeal. The story of Prometheus, the Titan god of fire, is a story of wit, cunning, and great sacrifice. While the Olympians lived in comfort on Mount Olympus, the world beneath had descended into tremendous darkness. There was no way to keep warm or make food, so Prometheus decided to bring fire to the mortals. This was a risky undertaking since the gods were notoriously possessive of their abilities. Prometheus was determined to help mankind and stole a spark of fire from the forge of Hephaestus, the god of fire and metallurgy. He brought the fire to the mortals, who rejoiced in the newfound heat and light. The gods were furious when they discovered what Prometheus had done. They knew that with fire mortals could forge their own weapons and feared that one day they might challenge the gods themselves. And so Zeus, the king of the gods, punished Prometheus. He had him chained to a rock and ordered an eagle to swoop down each day and feast on his liver, which would grow back each night only to be eaten again the next day. Prometheus suffered this torment for many years until the great hero Heracles, also known to you as Hercules, came to save him. Prometheus became a story of defiance against the gods. He was also known for his wisdom and used his wits to outwit the gods on several occasions. In the end, Prometheus became a revered figure among the gods, recognized for his extraordinary sacrifice and cunning. His exploits have inspired people and acted as a reminder of the importance of fire, courage in the face of peril, and smarts in the face of insurmountable challenges. His story was passed down through the ages as a metaphor for perseverance and bravery in a world governed by arbitrary deities. Over the centuries, many individuals have found hope in the story of Prometheus and his selfless gift to the fire of mankind. The story's popularity stems from the lesson it imparts about the power of the human spirit and the resilience of the human heart. The resilience of the human heart. Yeah, we humans are quite resilient. We humans are quite resilient. There's so much that we are able to endure, so much that we've gone through, and so much we've came through. Like, it's fascinating how much we've been able to endure. But we have a picture of Athena, and you guys, I had to talk about Athena for a minute. I know we haven't gotten there yet with Athena, but I don't know. I like her. I mean, she's what everyone wants to be. We want to have the grace that she has. We want to have the wisdom that she has, because she's she's so cool. She really is so cool. Like, we want to be smart and also beautiful. We all want to be able to fight. It's like a girl superhero. It's kind of like who could she be close to? I would say Diana, but Diana is in her own world of Greek mythology. Like, the Amazons are actually underneath the Greek myth of creations within Greek mythology. The Amazonians, I should say. But I don't know, you guys. There's a lot of moving pieces with this one. But Athena, goddess of wisdom. I believe yeah, the owl over there. She also has the owl and things like that. The owl is also right here as well, on top of her shield. I didn't really notice that. But the woman is gorgeous, beautiful. She is a warrior. She can fight. She's like very wise, so she can outthink you in anything. Athena lives on as one of the most popular gods. She's a minor god. She's a god. She's the daughter of Zeus, so she's not one of the bigger gods, and she's not all that powerful if you think about it compared to other gods. But I think it's what she represents that we all resonate with so much. Like, we all want to be good fighters. We all want to be good strategists. And we all want to win the war without having to shed too much blood and kill innocent people. Any good, kind hearted person who has good intentions, like, Athena is a good god to try to emulate, which is why I think she's lived on for so long. That what we should aim to do in life is to be wise and to think things through, to be slow to action and slow to anger, you know, to think things through and sit down. But it's also like, when you think things through and when you're not like jumping from one thing to the next, there's something powerful about that. Just like she won against Poseidon simply because she took a moment to think things through. That wisdom and patience and strategizing are things that will put you much further ahead of your opponent, even if you're coming with less resources or less or fewer gifts. Yeah. So Athena's a pretty cool one. I do like her. I think she would be one of my favorite gods as well. Oh, but you guys, there are so many different ones, and I'm just so enthralled. I really am. Like, I can't. It's hard to choose which one would be my favorite. It really is hard to choose. I know some of my guys out there are like, Zeus, I want to be Zeus. And I'm like, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. He has all the power, all the women, all the power, all the women. And I get why so many of you would want to be him. And he's also a good guy. Like, even though he is a bit of a womanizer, I don't know how to put him, he's a lover of women. He still does the right thing at the end of the day. Like, he still is, make sure that everyone gets what they need. Like, for example, the Persephone and the Hades story. He had to make sure that Demeter was satisfied, the mother of Persephone. So he had to go there and be like, hey, Hades, can you just return this girl? Because the crops aren't growing and then the humans are going to die. And we just can't have all these humans dying simply because you want to abduct Persephone. Okay? Can you just return her to the surface world so all these little humans, as puny as they are, so they don't die? Even though I don't want to give them fire to be able to warm themselves, because one day they might learn that they could, like, overthrow me and become the next rulers. Still don't want them to die, I still want everyone to know that, like, I take my job seriously and I want to keep peace. I want to keep the peace amongst all creatures. So that's just a fascinating one. But if I had to pick a least favorite god, or one of my least favorite gods, or the gods that are well known, it would probably be Hera. Probably be Hera. Oh Jesus. Hera would come at me so hard. And these gods are known for just being, like, straight up brutal. So, like, if you say something that they don't like, oh, you will pay the price. You will legit pay the price. But Hera, there's a lot going on with her. She's the goddess of marriage, and she's known to protect women and children. And Hera's just basically going around and, like, killing every woman that Zeus ends up with, every woman that Zeus ends up with, Hera is going around and trying to kill him in one way or another. Like, honestly. Honestly. Like, she's legit just savage. This lady is just savage. This god. uh, Tomorrow we're gonna get into, like, some other parts as well, but the cruelty. She's just constantly jealous. And she's always just trying to prevent Zeus from having more children with more women. And it comes down to, like, the thinking with Hera for me is just like, why doesn't she just leave him? If Zeus is such a horrible god and is constantly, like, going around having extramarital affairs and just being with mortals, nymphs, non-mortals, other gods, you name it, if Zeus is going around and do all these things, why doesn't Hera just leave him? That's a good question, isn't it? She has power. She's beautiful, and so many other creatures want her and would love to be with her. Why isn't she doing it? And for me, like, the way I thought about it was just like, hey, maybe she likes the power of being with Zeus. She likes being known as the most powerful woman or powerful god or powerful queen, I suppose. I mean, you would have to let all that go. That no matter what she does at the end of the day, even though Zeus ends up with all these bunch of different women, that she's the queen. No one else will be above her. But she still goes out of her way to make sure that those women suffer, even though her husband will never change. By the way, Hera and Zeus are brother and sister, by the way. The Greek have a thing, but this makes me think of the Bible. Let me just, I know, weird connection, but it makes sense. All right, I heard, this is off topic, okay? This is totally off topic, but I heard Cat Williams talk on his special about, like, really how Adam and Eve are kind of like brother and sister, and God did not intend for them to, end up being with each other. Meaning that, like, the apple is a representation of, like, man and woman, like, sleeping with each other. It's not really, like, eating the apple as a fruit. The apple is a euphemism. And, just like God banished us because we ended up sleeping with each other, like, man and woman, like brother and sister, ended up sleeping with each other. And in Greek mythology, the correlation here, same thing, like brother and sister always sleeping with each other and, like, having these children and all this stuff. I don't know. I just thought about that. But, like, it was just everything, the random pieces of information I stored in my mind. Now you know. But yeah, I mean, the only reason why Hera wouldn't leave him, she likes the power. She likes being the number one woman, the number one queen in the world, above all. But she goes out of her way, even though she's a protector of marriage, and she's a protector of women and children, she goes out of her way to kill a bunch of women when they sleep with her husband, and also kill the children that Zeus would end up having with those women. So these gods are not perfect. They're definitely not perfect. And outwardly, again, like, she's supposed to be the protector of women and children, but, like, this god is going around killing other women. And again, she knows that her husband, like, Zeus is able to morph and change into anything to get his way. Like, he seduces people. He seduces other gods, mortal women. Like, he seduces them by taking different forms. And you can kind of think of it like he says what he needs to say to woo the woman, because, again, he loves women. He just enjoys women. So it's just fascinating how Hera is blaming all these innocent women who don't even know that Zeus is Zeus. You know what I mean? That like these women aren't even aware who her husband is, and she's just coming out of nowhere, making these women's lives hell. Like she's just killing them, enslaving them, and like killing their babies. But she's a protector of babies. It is just that's what's fascinating about these gods. They're so full of all of these things, of all these good attributes, and also they're so spiteful. They're so wrong. They are just so evil in a way. The dichotomy of all of this. That's why I'm like, Hera is just not my thing. I can't with Hera. Like, I don't get her purpose. I legit do not. Well, but then again, these stories seek to explain and seek to kind of showcase the human condition. And if you think about that, you can understand that in the real world, there are such women that stay with powerful men and want to be the queen, want to be the number one, but also they know that their husbands are going out there and lying to other women and being with them because they just enjoy being with people and they enjoy beauty and whatever reasoning you want to give, whatever it is. But they stay with these men because they like the power, they like the money, they like whatever resources that man is giving them. But at the same time, they're going to go out there and pillory these women who don't even know who their husbands are in some cases. Like they say what they need to do to like get what they want, and then these women go out there like yelling at the woman who slept with their husband. Sometimes known, yeah, but most of the time they don't know that who your husband is. But these women go out and they make the lives of the women who, have no clue. Just make them suffer, whatever way you can think of, and it just makes you think. Like Hera is a perfect embodiment of such people. That it seeks to explain how humans could act in the way that they do, which is what the point of Greek mythology is why all these gods exist, is to explain the human condition, is to explain why we do certain things and why we are capable of mercy. And again, these women are not evil. They're like good women and they do good things. I'm sure they go to charities and they try to help little children out and they give food to the poor and they, always show up to their kids' committees and have everything ready to go. But their husbands are out there cheating on them and they're gonna find out and then they're gonna make that girl's life hell. So, I don't know. Greek mythology. Explaining real life, okay? You need to explain real life to yourself. Greek mythology. Why did Hera stay with Zeus? And why does she go around making all these mortals and immortals and nymphs and all these women's lives hell? Why did Hera do it? And you can kind of bring that to your everyday life and see, why do some women do what they do? You can't explain it. It's irrational. It makes no sense, but somehow it makes sense. I like Dionysus, so there we go. I'm gonna skip over to Dionysus. We can always go back to these, but Dionysus, if you're an adult and you have a full-time job, Dionysus is your friend, okay? We're gonna go through this one, and I really want to get into this because it's so cool. Dionysus is one of these gods that you'll probably not have heard of as much. He's not one of the major ones that you hear of all the time. Or at least for a kid growing up, Dionysus is not one you would put in the stories because, well, the debauchery. But let's go on. Let's see what we're going to do for this one. Dionysus, the ancient Greek god of wine and celebration, has a unique place in myth and folklore. Dionysus came from nothing, but was destined for greatness because of the legends that declared he had the ability to both build and destroy. The wellspring of wine and nectar of inspiration were placed in his hands from above. Dionysus has a reputation as a deity who is quick to wrath and just as quick to forgive. He began at an early age with a band of untamed maenads. They are ladies who supposedly went crazy because they're driven mad by his heavenly power. Those are maenads. He, along with his followers, traveled the earth together and held gatherings for what can only be described as wild feasts, where everyone gorged themselves on flesh from various animals and drank to excess. Dionysus always had an innate ability to spread happiness and good vibes everywhere he went. He was humorous and quick-witted, and his enthusiasm was contagious. People flocked to him, wanting to soak up his positive energy. Dionysus was a god of exhaustible good times, but he also had a shadowy side. Dionysus was a contradictory god, loved by his followers but reviled by his critics. Whatever may befall him, though, he will continue to be worshipped as a deity. The myth of Dionysus is timeless and interesting because it captures the fluid and repetitive nature of life and death. A tale regarding Dionysus has the Titans killing, dismembering, and eating him. His heart, however, survived, and from it sprung a new and eternal Dionysus. Zeus's response to this was to burn the Titans to the ground, and it was from their ashes that humanity sprang. This narrative, unlike any other in Greek mythology, provides insight into man's divine essence. It was thought that the Titans had consumed some of Dionysus, opening the door to the possibility of emancipation from mortality for all people. This narrative not only explained how mankind came to be, but also portrayed the inevitable circle of life and death. Even though the body might be destroyed, the divine essence lives on, regenerating and remaking itself. Through this story, life and the everlasting nature of the soul is explained. Greek mythology is a huge fabric that continues to fascinate and inspire people because it reflects a cycle of life and death. Ultimately, we learn about divine power and the natural life and the natural cycle of life and death from Dionysus' tale. It has affected and interested people for centuries, and it will continue to do so for centuries to come. Dionysus became renowned as a terrifying and powerful god. He's still a source of joy, but he also became a symbol of defiance or rebellion, a continuous reminder that any oppressor can be vanquished with enough determination and resourcefulness. The story of Dionysus' fight with the Titans continue to be told as a warning to those who would want to tame and conquer the free and joyous spirit. Oh my goodness, you guys. Wow, that did resonate with me though. That no matter how much you try to suppress the free and joyous people, or a free and joyous person, they'll win in the end. Like their spirit will live on, they will regenerate, they will come back, and they will be able to withstand it. But Dionysus, the reason why I say he's probably a friend to a lot of us, especially those of us who are working all the time, or we just have a lot of strain on our soldiers, I could see it being easy to just go along with Dionysus, have fun, drink, party, forget about your woes. But I can also see why he's loved and hated. Because if you think about the people who are like, don't drink too much, don't get in trouble, try to keep your wits about you, they're right. They're right in a way. And if you do go along with Dionysus and you have too much fun with him, you will lose your way and you will kind of lose your soul in the process. There's a story in here, or amongst my reading and all the research that I've been doing. In one story, Dionysus dove into hell. Dove into hell just because he wanted to go for an adventure, okay? And he escaped all the spirits of the underworld. Because, again, if you are not stuck in the underworld, you're not meant to be in the underworld, you know, the spirits will take you and keep you out. Or if you do end up getting caught by the spirits of the underworld, you will be imprisoned and you will suffer rightly. In Percy Jackson, again, my crazy Greek people, my Greek mythology crazy people, you know what I'm talking about. In Percy Jackson, the scene when I'll put this up tomorrow. I'm gonna work on putting this up tomorrow. But the scene when he comes to the underworld and he's at the Hollywood part, right? He goes to Hollywood and he does the right thing and speaks the right words, and the tunnel opens for the underworld, and you have the farrier. Again, we are not getting in the minutia of everything, but there's so much to cover in Greek mythology. Like you can't even. Oh, there's so much. But the farrier to the underworld, he's like, Percy's like, hey, I want passage to be able to go down to the underworld. I need to talk to Hades about something. Because, the quests, there are certain things that he needed to do, and the next spot he needed to go was the underworld. So, he's like, hey, I need to get to the underworld, and I need your help. Will you take us there? And the farrier looks at him, he's like, the living are not permitted in the underworld. Die and come back. And I lost it. Okay, I just lost it. It's just like, die and come back. It's kind of the same thing with Dionysus. Like, you are a living being. You shouldn't be here. This is not your domain. Die or suffer the consequences. Either way, you will suffer. So, these maenads, these people, the ladies who followed him, yeah, they're beautiful on the outside, but upon going into the underworld and going through all of that, trying to escape the spirits that would try to, again, kick them out or make them suffer for invading the underworld because they're not meant to be there, the living are not meant to be in the underworld, then these maenads kind of lose a part of their soul. They kind of become corrupted, and their souls are not the prettiest. And it's the same thing with Dionysus. Have fun with him, but at your own risk. And it kind of speaks to everyday life that, hey, it's good to have fun and let loose every once in a while. However, if you take it too far, it could be at, the risk of your soul. Imagine what happens to people when they drink too much. I mean, we've all had our nights. Hey, I'm not perfect over here, okay? I'm not claiming to be a saint. I've had my fun in the world and my mistakes. We all have. But blackouts, right? Blackouts when you don't know what happened because you drank a little too much or you partied a little too much and you don't know what you said the night before, or your inhibitions go completely awry and you tell everyone the truth, which people do not like the truth, especially truth that hurts, you know? I'm a person who tells the truth when I am sober. Imagine what I would tell people when I am completely off my gourd and I have no inhibitions. It's kind of like the story of Dionysus. Like those who want to have fun and don't care and want to live in the moment, they're like, it's whatever. The moment is the moment, and if I die, I die. But play with Dionysus, but at your own risk. Don't get too caught up because you will pay the price. Just like those maenads pay the price. They had fun, they lost themselves with him or within him, and woohoo! Like, he's a lot of fun, but he's trouble. He is trouble. He's a bad, very bad boy. I suppose bad god. He's just crazy, bro. But Hephaestus, Prometheus. Prometheus is one that we really do not know much about. Prometheus, again, was before the Olympians, so think as Prometheus being Zeus's uncle. Does that make sense? Because Prometheus was along the lines of like Cronus and Rhea. That's when he was born. The Olympians were born of Rhea and Cronus. So Prometheus is the uncle of Zeus. But when they were fighting the Titans, I'm still here, you guys. I just have to turn on this light But since I'm moving, I don't want you to see all my ill preparedness. I mean, I'm prepared, but like it's just a different shot, and I'm not ready for that shot. I'm not ready for the shot of me moving things about. So I'm back now. Better lighting. I don't know. I was hoping it's better lighting, but it doesn't appear as if it is. But yeah, you guys, Prometheus is like one of the good ones because he made that sacrifice to bring fire to the humans because he saw that they were suffering, and he's just like a good soul. Genuinely, he's like a good one. There are few gods who are that sacrificial, and Prometheus is one of the few, if not the only one. Perhaps Athena would be after him, but I don't think there are that many after him. But Prometheus brought fire to the humans because we read a little bit about that the humans were suffering, and it was dark underneath Olympus, and he brought fire to them because he didn't want to see the humans suffer anymore. But of course, the gods wanted to protect their gifts because they didn't want the humans, uprising and making fire and forging and making weapons to then overthrow them. So again, in all of these stories, you can kind of see that it tells something, it encapsulates something that is meaningful in life. The story from that I could grasp from this is that it appears that once people are better off or once they're in charge, it's not that they don't care. Like Zeus does care, but up to a point. Zeus doesn't want the humans to suffer and die and not, be fed, but he doesn't want the humans to be given fire because they might overthrow him and take over his rule. And that kind of makes me think in a way of lower class versus upper class versus richer people and then even homeless people. That it's not that we don't care to help. It's just like they are willing to help up to a point. Up to a point. And anybody who says, hey, by the way, or think of the upper class, for example, you think, well, yeah, maybe you should make this available to the homeless. And they're like, yeah, but my business is going to die. And that's true. That's really true that, like, if we let all the homeless people into housing for free, for example, what's the incentive for everyone else to be working all the time just so we can pay to have our own housing? It makes sense. And at the same time, it doesn't make sense. Like, why let those people suffer? Why not try to do something to help them? And it's like, yeah, we will try to do something to help them, but up to a point. Like free hotels, that's too much. But we can put up a facility so that they could go to a place and, like, at least have a roof over their head. They'll steal from each other and they won't have the best conditions, but they'll have a roof over their head. So it's like helping, but up to a point. And that's kind of what I get from this story with Prometheus. And the thing is that the person who speaks out and the person who's like, what we're doing is wrong, by the way, we shouldn't be doing this, then that person suffers, right? Like, Zeus legit chained him to a rock, had like an eagle come down and peck at his liver every day and ate his liver. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? Like, human skin is pretty thick, by the way. It's pretty thick, just so you know. But could you imagine that, like, an eagle just comes down every day just because you were kind, you gave fire to these humans who were, like, legit dying, and an eagle comes down and they just peck at your liver, and then your liver regrows each night, and then the process is repeated every single day. This is supposed to go on for eternity until Prometheus is rescued by Jason. Either Jason or Hercules, which is also known as Heracles, but you more likely know him as Hercules. But Prometheus, we had to give him credit. We have to talk about him and, like, talk about his sacrifice because he's one of those gods that, like, slide under the radar that we don't really think about. And that's the other thing, that the people with the flash, the people with like the beauty, they are the ones who are most known for all the good deeds that they do. But the people who are less flashy, the people who do not have as many, beautiful features, for example, they're not really as known, or they don't get their just dues. I say they're not as revered for the good that they do. Athena, yeah, we all know her, but Prometheus, not so much. But Athena is beautiful. She's wise. She has all these powers. All Prometheus did was give fire to the humans so they wouldn't die of, like, cold, or die because of starvation because of making food and all these things. Ah, I'm getting wrapped up in my Greek mythology. But I am really excited. And of course we have more to cover tomorrow. And I think we'll end with Prometheus today because we're like right on time. But I didn't expect myself to get so enthralled in these stories, you guys. I really didn't. Um, I'm just going to go back and have Demeter up here while we talk for a minute. But yeah, Greek mythology is my jam. If it's your jam too, put it down below. Let me know. Let me know what is the happening, because these topics are fascinating. They really are fascinating, and I want to see. I'm so excited to see what goes on, and how we can like build a community here, especially on YouTube. I'm scared of YouTube a little bit because I don't want to be demonetized, but I think I tried to be on X, you guys. I'm crazy. I know, right? I tried to be on X, and it's a little bit of a bargain. A little bit of a bargain. Yeah, YouTube has its things, but X is a little bit harsh. I see a lot of less than ideal things I don't want to repeat here. But while I'm afraid of being demonetized on YouTube for covering certain subjects that are really near and dear and necessary to cover, just, to discuss, X is a platform that is difficult to be on because what is being pushed is kind of a bit like just not the best behavior, not the most uplifting things. Of course, we're going to try to multi-stream and still do X and everything like that, but my goal today was to be on YouTube, and I had to be on YouTube at all costs. So although I was unable to multi-stream, YouTube was the better one to go with because this is where I'll be able to do the most good and foster a community that will be able to grow and, have the best chance of, proliferating. Thank you for being here. I'm Shalinda. This is Epic Worthy. I will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. So we go from 7 to 9 p.m. ish, depending on how much fun we are having. Today we had a lot of fun, but I got carried away, you guys. Greek mythology. I'm so shocked. I'm always so shocked how like time flies when you're talking about a subject that you so enjoy. And for all my nerds out there, all my Greek mythology nerds, okay, my heart goes out to you. I feel you. I hear you. And I aim to improve this and also do a video on this. So we'll see how that goes as well, because there's so many different directions I head into. It's been chill. It's been nice. Mes amis, au revoir. Demain, à la semaine prochaine.